But this really doesn't it doesn't bother me that much because I flop the Stone Cold Nuts, which is top set with 8s. I don't believe that King Jeebus would bet behind me. I mean, would call a bet here. I do think if I check this, that maybe one of the other players will bet at it. Now the board just got a little bit more dangerous, though. There's a flush draw on the board now, a straight draw on the board. YT does bet at it. I don't think he has ace-5 or 5-6, and at this level, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to play this hand as if it's the nuts. I do think I have the best of it. I'm just going to push him all in. He's got 2 pair, and so in that case, I think I wish he was still at the table so I could mark him as a fish or a donkey for calling my raise with 4-3. But in that case, I think it did pay off to play that hand just the way we did, letting them see a free card. Because if we look back at that hand, if we look just at the flop, which was 2-3-8 rainbow, which means all different suits, really no card that comes is going to be bad for us. If a 3 comes down, we have a full house. If a 2 comes down, we have a full house. If an 8 comes down, we have quads. And if any other card comes down, it's unlikely that it's going to give other players a better hand than us. So, for example, if an ace came down, it would be likely, I think, if an ace came down, that King Jeebus who might have a hand like ace-jack, might feel that they were able to bet at that hand. And because of that, I think that an ace would have been maybe one of the best cards for us in that situation. As it was, we ended up taking out a guy who turned 2 pair. But because I was feeling that our hand couldn't get worse on the turn, I think it was a fairly safe and strategical move to just slow play that hand there. And it did end up paying off. We got a little bit lucky there. The guy made his 2 pair. And so, again, as this brings me back to what I was saying earlier with King Jeebus here. Now that we've played a few more hands, I've seen him participate actively in a few more of them. So I'm leaning now. I probably won't end up marking him as a tight player, but I am gonna go ahead and give this guy the blue, and I'm just gonna say tag. He has raised me here. He raised me a very little bit, and despite the fact that I'm getting great pot odds to call this, I'm gonna go ahead and lay it down, because just as I mark him as tight, he comes and raises me when I don't have a strong hand, and so I'm just gonna let it go, and it's not a big deal. Here with pocket 3s, I'm going to limp into the pot, and my thought process behind that is that if I raise the pot, if I raise the pot pre-flop, and I miss the board completely, then I'm almost definitely gonna have to lay down the hand ultimately. Whereas if I just limp in, which is what I've done, then I really don't invest many of my chips. Okay, so here we're in an interesting position. This guy was in the big blind, and he's just called us down to the river, although we've been betting small. And I'm going to go ahead and check here. We've got to hope that he was on a flush draw, but more likely would be that he's got either a higher pocket pair that he didn't raise with, or a pair of 5s or a pair of 10s with a weak kicker. Looks like we take down, so we're going to hope he was on a flush draw. Okay, so he was actually on a gut shot. And because of that, we're going to mark him as a lag player. And then we're also just going to say, for future reference, calls down small bets to the river with gut shot. And that can just be helpful when you're mousing over this guy. You say, you just check out the note, and you see, okay, alright, if he's calling me down, maybe I should put in a river bet as a bluff, because he could have been calling me down with the gut shot the whole way. And that's how you can just look back on your notes and utilize them. Here with 210, I will not call any bet, regardless of what that river was. 210 is just not a hand to be calling bets with, especially on a board like that with an ace of king. My phone's ringing, so I'm just gonna pause this video momentarily. I'm back. It's the very next hand, and queen 10 on the button. I'm gonna fold. If the blinds were bigger and maybe I needed more chips or something like that, I might try to make a play with queen 10, but as it was, Sandman had limped from under the gun, which can sometimes be interpreted as a stronger hand. Somebody could either be trying to trap with a strong hand, or somebody just has a hand that they feel is that they're not scared of playing from under the gun, which is the worst position to be in most of the time. So here King Jeebus ended up trapping with pocket aces, and we could have gotten into some trouble if we had seen a turn on that hand, so I guess it's a good thing we didn't. Here we've got 10 king. He limps in, and I'm just going to check behind him. We hit the 10, and I would assume we're probably good. We bet out 50, which is just a min bet, but in that case half the pot. He instantly folds, and we just have to assume he limped in with junk, missed, and folded, and that was a pretty simple hand there. So Gamma Llama has still been playing pretty tight, and I'm just gonna get out of the way of this pot. I don't want to be here I don't want to be first to act in a three-way pot, and luckily Gamma Llama was being pretty, seems to be making one of his first plays here and raising up pre-flop. King Jeebus, as of now, I don't really have a solid read on him. He was playing tighter in the beginning. Now he seems to have loosened up, but I'm not going to exactly call him a lag. So for this time, I won't put a note on him. I'll just know that he's a little bit unpredictable, that he has been involved in a decent number of hands, but he hasn't played any of them too weirdly. He hasn't called anyone down with a gut shot, and he did trap with aces once. So I'm not going to classify him as something that he may not be. So instead I'll just leave him unmarked. So for you guys who are new to Full Tilt, I'm going to take this this period, which looks like just a lull in the game, and I'm going to try to show you some features in the lobby. So one of the things that I like to use is the custom tab. And so what you do, if you're at real money, which I'm at, you just go real money, then you go to sit and goes, and then instead of going to all, instead of even going to one table, because at one table you still have these $5,000 games in here, I hit the edit button on the far right. I'm going to fold this because 7-9 is not a hand to be calling raise with pre-flop. You hit the edit button, and it really lets you specify exactly what games you're looking for. So you can do sit and goes or tournaments. I have sit and goes selected. And what game do you want to play? Well, for me, I'm primarily a Hold'em player, so I'm going to select Hold'em. What type of game? I mainly stick to No Limit, as most of us do nowadays, but maybe I feel like playing Pot Limit now and then. So you can check off what type of game you'd like to play, and here I have it set to minimum buy-in of $1, maximum buy-in of $10. So that way I don't have to watch all the $400, $500 games filling up as I'm scrolling